All right, good morning, everyone. I got a couple of comments that the jogging videos were nausea-inducing, but most of the people didn't seem to mind too much. And I have another long run today, so I thought we would do one of these again. So this time I wanted to talk about a comment that I see really often on our videos, and that is this idea that Aptera is a scam, and that Aptera has been doing this since 2010. They never intend to deliver a vehicle. They're just taking money from investors and depositors and using this to enrich themselves. And it is a fraudulent scheme and a scam, and people should stay far away from it. Okay, so I want to address that a little by little. First of all, for depositors, there is absolutely no risk to depositors because deposits are held in an escrow account. Aptera and its founders and leadership and employees have no access to that money. They cannot use it to pay themselves, pay for tooling, pay for development. It just sits in an escrow account. And if for some reason you want it back, they have to give it back to you by law, and another company controls that money. Now, when it comes to investors, yes, your money is at risk. And like I've said several times on this channel, and again, reiterating that this channel does not give investment advice, and you should definitely not take investment advice from me because my track record on investments is absolutely horrible. But I've said several times that you probably should not invest money in Aptera that you cannot afford to lose, because Aptera is a startup company and all startup companies are very risky. And so you shouldn't invest in Aptera or any other startup for that matter if there's money that you cannot afford to lose. It is a high risk, high reward type of proposition. The landscape is littered with startup companies that did not make it. Okay, but that doesn't mean that Aptera is a scam, because if you look at the definition of a scam is a business scheme that is deceptive and fraudulent. And this means that whoever's running the scam knows that they are deceiving people. So let's say, for example, I try to start a business that I'm just not good at, but I think I can succeed. Is that a scam? No, that's not a scam, because I actually intend to run the business well, and I think that I can succeed. Now, I may be wrong in that thought process, but I'm not deceiving anyone. I'm not deceiving my investors or anything like that. Let's say that I start a business and the people who invest money with me, I don't put any of that money into the business. I just squirrel it away from myself. And I have no intention of actually running this business. I have no intention of actually delivering a product. That definitely is a scam. All right, so let's look at what Aptera is doing and see if it feels like they're doing a scam. Now, Aptera has raised about $100 million from crowdfunding, which is the most successful crowdfunding campaign in history. So that tells you that the idea they have is very inspiring and has captured the thoughts of lots of people. And most of these are small investors. People aren't investing millions of dollars. They're investing thousands of dollars probably. Maybe some people tens of thousands. And a few people indeed are investing millions of dollars. But if they were a scam, you would expect them to run a skeleton crew, very little development, build pretty prototypes that look good but are really not that functional to attract more investors. Now, they have made pretty prototypes, but they've also made a very ugly prototype, the beta. You guys remember that thing did not look good, and that was purely an engineering prototype to test suspension and driving dynamics and things like that. why would you invest in building something like that if all you want to do is attract investors? You want something aesthetically pleasing for that. 2, they spent a lot of money outsourcing engineering to other companies. They've been with Yazaki, which is one of the leading wiring harness manufacturers. Their harnesses are probably in more than half the vehicles out there. And so they've given a lot of money to Yazaki. They've gotten into contract with Cherry Automotive and given them money. They've given money to Roush Automotive. They've given money to Munro and Associates to help them with manufacturing. They've given money to Hinduja Tech, which is an engineering firm out of India. So they've spent a lot of money giving money to other people to do engineering to deliver a product. That doesn't seem like a really good way to keep money for yourself if you're running a scam. And then they spent tons of money on tooling, like with CPC. Those large dies are not cheap, and CPC, again, I think has probably given them a lot of the money that they need for that. And so CPC, I'm sure, wanted to look at their books and know that they're legitimate before a big company like that invested money into them. They've also spent a lot of money on Red Viking AGVs, and they've applied for government grants. And if you are running a fraudulent scheme and you are found out and you've applied for government grants, that is a state level or federal level offense. And people generally don't want to go to federal penitentiaries. So if you're running a fraudulent scheme, you probably would not want to apply for government grants and loans and tell them all your financials and give them all your information and have it vetted. And that would be something that you probably want to avoid. And lastly, you want to look at the people that are running the thing. Do they have, what do they have to lose? So Steve Fambro and Chris Anthony, they, from what I can tell, are really intelligent, hardworking people. And they've been paying themselves around two something a year as co-CEOs of this company. Now that is a lot of money. I suspect that includes benefits, and if you include benefits, that amount is going to be their take-home pay before taxes is going to be less than $200,000, probably high 100s, and after taxes in California and the living costs in California, that is just not going to be a lot of money. And I think they would get a better job than running this company with a lot more pay, with the amount of work and talent that they have. So their pay is definitely not commensurate with either their talent, ability, or the amount of work that they do. And then looking at other people that are on board, like Jason Hill, this is a designer that has worked for Porsche, Hyundai, Samsung, Mercedes-Benz, several other car companies, owns his own design firm. Why would he link his name to a fraudulent company and kind of forever ruin his career over something like that? And the amount of money they have left over is like $20 million in cash. They are spending that doing tooling and paying their employees. They are not going to have much money left over to run away with. So it doesn't pass the sniff test, if you think about that. Another common suggestion that I see is that why doesn't Aptera do non-refundable deposits, increase the deposits to like $1,000 and use that money to get into production. And you know, they have close to 50,000 reservation holders. If everyone bumped it up to $1,000, that would be $50 million. That initially on the surface sounds like a good idea, but remember, these funds are held in an escrow account and they cannot be touched for development. Now, you could change the parameters of that and make it so that it is non-refundable. It's not held in an escrow account and they can't touch it. And that is what a company called Elio Motors did. And I think you guys remember Elio Motors. Elio Motors, I'm sure most of you have heard of, because I think there's a lot of overlap between people that are interested in Aptera and people that were interested in Elio Motors. They are both efficient three-wheeled vehicles that in some way work best as commuters. Now, Elio was promising an 84 mile per gallon vehicle for under $10,000. Theirs, I believe, was a single seater. I'm not really sure, but they took a bunch of non-refundable deposits that they were using for to get into production and to build up tooling. However, none of that has happened, and the company has recently come out, maybe a year ago, saying that they've converted to an electric vehicle and that they're still taking deposits. But in my opinion, Elio is a scam. I've never seen anything from that company that suggests that they are really serious about getting into production. Paul Elio has been paying himself quite a bit of money for all these years. He doesn't really have an engineering staff, and he has never paid external companies to subcontract engineering, and has basically kept the money to pay himself for, close to a decade at this point, I think. And you can't run a deposit where it's non-refundable and not deliver a product, because there is always the chance that something happens and you don't deliver a product. Again, startups are a high risk proposition. And so people are under the impression that once they get the money, it is 100% guaranteed to get into production. There's no such thing. There is no guarantee of getting into production, even with sufficient funds. There's always unexpected things that can come up. So taking non-refundable deposits is a legally risky proposition, and it's something that I've talked to Chris Anthony about, and he says for various reasons they have decided not to do that, and mainly because they're not running a scam. They want to deliver a vehicle. They don't want to disappoint anyone. They understand investors are taking risks, and investors should understand that they are taking risks, but deposit holders need to be protected from risks, and so they are not going to do that, at least at the last time I talked to them.
And as I'm editing this, I realized that I forgot probably one of the most compelling reasons that I believe Aptera is not a scam is Sandy Munro's involvement in it. This is a guy that is fairly well known and has been very vocal in his support of Aptera, and he himself is an investor. And it seems very unlikely that he would stake his reputation on something that he knows is a scam. And being so involved with them and consulting for them, I feel like he would know if they were behaving in a way that seemed like they were not intending on getting into production and delivering a car. Okay, so let me know in the comments below why you think, any other reasons that you might think that Aptera is or is not a scam. Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.